Back in 2018, I predicted this would happen, and I've been called a bigot. I was told that it's a slippery slope. But apparently, not only does it happen, but at this point, I don't even know if it's okay to have an opinion about this. Because it may be hate speech or something in the line, transphobia, who knows. But I'm going to do my best to tell my opinion anyway. So the way I managed to predict is that the ideology made complete sense that this is going to happen, which is the argument that you need to suck the cock, you bigot, right? And it's applied to men as well as women that are lesbian, apparently. So it's very interesting because what happens in reality is you have a certain group of people that have a sexual preference, which we know is something that you can't change, right? Like I, for example, cannot force myself to like another man. A lesbian, I suppose, cannot force herself to like another man either. So these people, right, like they exist in reality, they have these preferences, but people use language in order to give definitions. So using language, you say that, okay, well, a lesbian is a person that's attracted to another woman, right? Now, you also use language in order to define what a woman is. Some people are capable of, others aren't. But basically, by using language and through the magic of the American academia, now a person who wasn't attracted to a cock has to be, or she gets called a bigot. Does that make any sense, right? Like, so basically, the way it should work, I guess, according to the more progressive mindset, is that any person can identify as whatever gender they want, right? So you don't need hormone therapy, you don't need a psychiatrist, you don't need anything, right? Like the only thing that needs to happen is for the person to identify, to tell other people that they identify as a different gender. So basically, I should be able to say that I identify as a woman, and as such, lesbians should be open in having relationships with me. Does that make any sense? Like, does that seem fair? To me personally, it doesn't seem very fair. But I guess, like, to other people, they would call me transphobic for even mentioning or bringing this up. I don't know. I think that sexual preference outside of language and opening your mouth and using words, I think it's a characteristic that should be respected. You shouldn't just try to justify why other people should have a relationship with someone they don't want to. Like, no means no under any situation. They don't have to explain. At the end of the day, bouncing on my penis is a privilege, not a right. So I do think that when it comes to sexual preference, people should be discriminatory. I mean, the whole thing about choosing who you date with is discriminatory. Like, you're picking this guy because he's taller. You're picking this woman because she has the chest size that you want. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's discriminatory because it should be. Like, out of the entire human population, you're supposed to choose one person. So, of course, you're going to be discriminating towards others for whatever reason. And at the end of the day, it's preference. It's like food. Some people like potatoes, some others don't. Some people like their food cooked in a way, others don't. It's the same with dating, right? Like, some people may have a preference towards the sex, because I don't know if they really have a preference towards the gender. No, I think like they have a preference towards the sex. I think they have a preference towards the age, right? Like, many people would not want to date a grandmother. I mean, that's discriminatory, right? It's ageist, but for some reason, no one wants to bring that up. It's like, why? You don't want to date the 65-year-old grandmother? What? Are you some sort of ageist? And even if you try to discriminate towards people like this, would it actually work? Because I don't think it would. I don't think you can shame someone into liking someone they don't. It's like the gay conversion therapy. I mean, this is the modern version of it without the electrical shocks and Jesus. You're basically trying to use social pressure and stigma against lesbians in this situation in order to try to convince them that, well, they should be able to have a relationship with someone that has a penis. By changing language and definitions. Okay. So apparently there's this dating app which is dedicated for lesbian women. And the app is called Her. I did not know it exists, but apparently it has more than 10 million people. And allegedly there was a lot of transphobes on it. We don't see any receipts, but I understand that they may exist. And the CEO of this app is calling these people bigots, turfs, filled with hatred. And I find it very interesting because it's the first time in an article ever that I find these words attributed to women. Like, usually it's the cisgender, heteronormative, straight, white, patriarchal men that are filled with hatred and bigotry and all the other things. You see that in the media. I have never seen it being attributed to women. This is a first. So, the first time ever, you know, like when Disney makes a movie, it's the first time ever. So, apparently, they are trying to reclaim the word lesbian from the clutches of the turfs and bigots who try to hijack it to fuel their transphobia and hatred. Now, the thing is, I don't know, like, what is transphobia? Like, what exactly constitutes on this app? Like, if someone actually threatens another person, I think that's against the terms of service anyway. Like, every single app that I know has clear terms of service that does not allow people to use threats and intimidation and other things. But I'm curious if it's just, like, refusing to date one. Or saying, like, you know what, I'm not interested, leave me alone. The other person pressures, and it's like, no means no, and the other person keeps pressuring, and you're like, just leave me the fuck alone. Blocked, reported, flagged. You know, like, it can be like that. We don't know. We do not see the receipts. But it's very interesting, right? Like, you have the CEO speaking, and she's talking about aggression and violence. And I'm thinking, like, it's a text app, right? I mean, I don't think you can punch someone through the phone. That technology doesn't exist yet. We have come far in the way of the AI, but to actually physically hurt someone through the phone, I don't think it's possible. So I don't know what she's talking about, like aggression and violence. And apparently, they say that they always supported the LGBT community, and that they're working hand in hand with a nonprofit called GLAD. And they're working with advertisers and such. And the people who are getting banned from this platform are receiving the message that it's time to delete her. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Keep receiving notifications from the her app. Wait, so like, if you delete it, like if you're banned, why would you still want to keep notifications? Like, this is very interesting. Right, so I'm genuinely curious to see how this is going to work out for them. Because on one hand, you would think, well, if they're going to treat customers this way, you know, they're going to give like this snarky message to customers, regardless if the customer is unruly or not. Right? Like, imagine an unruly customer gets into McDonald's. They're still going to act polite with them as they're escorting them out, right? Like, they're not going to curse at the unruly customer. They're not going to hit them. They're not, right? Like, a business is supposed to treat customers with respect even when they don't deserve it. But in America, it's more modern to be snarky with customers, especially if you're a progressive business. So it's possible that this may work because the targeted audience is very progressive, right? Like, we're talking about the LGBT community. So they may like this. Unfortunately, I don't think that this company has a big enough notoriety or a big enough imprint for other publications to follow up on this. So if it does happen that people are going to unsubscribe, I will not know because I don't think Pink News is going to make a follow-up article. At the same time, if people decide not to unsubscribe, I will also not know. But it's interesting. I wish I would know. I wish that in the 4 or 5 months, like, someone would tell me how this marketing campaign worked, because it is a marketing campaign. They're not showing any stats. They're not showing any receipts to this alleged violence that is happening. Because I do think that if there was actual violence, they would show it. They would call the cops, like, you would know, but none of that is happening. So it is virtue signaling, pretty much. And I would be very interested to see how it's working out for them. But anyway, Ray, let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.